This is an ancient Mayan astronaut found at the Temple of Inscriptions in Palenque, Mexico. Or is it? We'll get back to that. Make sure y'all rock with me to the end because y'all know how I do. This shit get better with time. Now these next few images are some ancient artifacts of how ancient Mayans depicted themselves. So you see this one, right? You see cuz got a whole fro. Now y'all can look this up. Now these are just a few of the real ancient artifacts. Here's another one, right? Now y'all tell me who these people look like. And another one. Like I could keep going all night, but we got some important shit to get to. Y'all know I had to show these last two. They my favorite. You see the lots, cuz. Now the ones I just showed are real. Unlike what this guy behind me, Brigido Laura, who created over 40,000 fake ones in the more Eurasian phenotype, as you can see the ones he's creating right there, of the Olmecs, Mayans, and Totonacs. Right? He created over 40,000 of his own quote-unquote personal interpretations that they still passing off as real in museums all over the world, not just America's. Let's keep moving. I already exposed this goofy on a couple other videos. Now, before we get back to this first image, let's read a passage or two from a book we're exploring on my live on YouTube. Now, my only point is to show that what a lot of us already know, that we are far more advanced than they knew, even if they study us extensively, like the author of this book. And to show that they didn't teach us astronomy or the concept of spirituality. We taught them, and they just must have forgot and perverted it. But let's begin. But y'all stick with me to the end, because we're going to get into who this is on the screen. In Yucatan, where the Maya for serpent Kan is almost synonymous with Ka'an equals sky or heaven, and the adjective Ka'anlil equals celestial divine, the idea of a divine or celestial serpent would naturally suggest itself. It is therefore not surprising to find in both countries the name of serpent bestowed as a title upon a supreme celestial embodiment of the forces of nature and its image employed to express this association in objective form. In Yucatan, one of the surnames Itzamana, the supreme divinity, was Kanlil, a name clearly related to Ka'anlil equals divine and Kan equals serpent. In Mexico, the duality and generative force implied by the word coatl or coatl are clearly recognizable in the native invocations addressed to our Lord Quetzalcoatl, the creator and maker or former, who dwells in heaven and is the Lord of the earth. Tlahtecutli, who is our celestial father and mother, great Lord and great lady, whose title is Ome Tecutli, literally two Lord equals twin Lord, and Ome Siwado, literally two lady equals twin lady. So y'all remember me teaching y'all as above, so below, as within, so without, right? And it's duality and balance. So Tlahtecutli is actually a woman, right? Because I told you the woman represents earth, represents fertility, represents agriculture, the whole nine of that, and the man represents the above, right? So when you see Tlahtecutli, that's really talking about a woman, right? Or what you would call Mother Earth. Or she would be considered a goddess, the earth goddess. Let's continue though. The following data will suffice to render it quite clear that the Mexicans and the Mayas employed the serpent as an expressive symbol, merely signifying the generative force of the creator to whom alone they rendered homage. It is no less an authority than Friar Bartholomew de las Casas, who maintained that in many parts of the American continent, the natives had a particular knowledge of the true God. They believed that he created the universe and was its Lord and governed it. And it was to him they addressed their sacrifices, their cult, and homage in their necessities. Friar Bartholomew specially adds that this was the case in Mexico, according to the authority of Spanish missionaries, and no one can doubt that this was the case when they read that in the native invocations preserved by Sawagan, the supreme divinity is described as invisible and intangible, like the air, like the darkness of night, or as the Lord who is always present in all things, who is as impenetrable as an abyss, whose name the wind, air, or breath, and the night. All things obey him. The order of the universe depends upon his will. He is the creator, sustainer, the omnipotent, and the omniscient. He is termed the father and mother of all, the great God and the great goddess, our Lord and protector, who is the most powerful and the most humane. Y'all remember me telling y'all as above, so below, and that deals with duality, it deals with balance. When the masculine and the feminine come together in harmony as one that creates divinity. But let's continue. Our Lord, in whose power is to bestow all contentment, sweetness, happiness, wealth, and prosperity, because thou alone art the Lord of all things. One prayer concludes thus: live and reign forever in all peace and repose, thou who art our Lord, our shelter, our comfort, who art most kind, most bountiful, invisible, and impalpable. It is related that in gratitude for the birth of a son, the ruler of Texcoco, Nazawal Coyol, erected a temple to the unknown god. It consisted of 9 stories to symbolize the 9 heavens. The exterior of the tent, which formed the top of the 9 other stories, was painted black with stars. I remember me telling y'all, it all goes back to astronomy, agriculture, as above, so below. There's more to it, a lot more, but that's the rule. Its interior was encrusted with gold, precious stones, and feathers, and held the said god who was unknown, unseen, shapeless, and formless. A passage in Sawagan states that the invisible and imageless god of the Chichimex was named Yoi or Yaali Eekat, literally night air or wind, which means the invisible and impalpable god, by whose virtue all live, who directs by merely exerting his wisdom and will. In the Codex Fuenlao, the remarkable title of Will of the Winds equals Yowali Eekat is recorded as another name for Quetzalcoatl or Quetzalcoatl or Quetzalcoatl. This undeniably proves that the ancient Mexicans, they name believing Mexicans, not only figured the deity by the image of a serpent, but also thought of him as a will, which obviously symbolized centrifugal force, rotation, lordship over the 4 quarters, i.e. universal rulership. Returning from these ideas of later development to the primitive source of their suggestion, let us now examine the native picture of Xonculili Ursa Minor, preserved in the unpublished Academia MS of Sawagan's Historia in Madrid. It is an exact representation of the star group. The fact that the 7 stars are figured in the same size and accurate relation to each other either proves that the eyesight of the native astronomers were extremely keen and their atmosphere were remarkably clear, or that possibly the minor stars of the group were more brilliant in ancient times than they are now. Now, I don't believe that, maybe because of pollution, but other than that, they're the same stars. Now back to the first pick. This ain't an astronaut. More than likely an astronomer, being though that he was a ruler or a ahau. And I said astronomy because knowledge is power, and those who possess the most knowledge were the ones in rulership, among other things though. His name is Kenich Janaab Pakal, also known as Pakal the Great. He was the ahau of the Maya city state of Palenque, and ahau just means lord or ruler. I'm not going to tell you his whole life story, but I am going to tell you things I found to be important for this build. He ascended to the throne in July 615 at the age of 12 and ruled until his passing. He reigned for 68 years, which is the 5th longest verified regnal period of any sovereign monarch in history, the longest in world history for a millennium, and the longest reign within the Americas as a whole. So Pakal got his name from his mother's father, right? And his mother's father only ruled for a year before his demise, right? And then Pakal got his power passed down from his mother, who was an ahau herself. Actually, she was an important ahau because she brought peace at a much needed time when there was nothing but chaos because there was no ruler. Kenich Janaab Pakal means radiant cornflower shield or radiant sun shield. Meaning Janaab is still kind of debated. It refers to a raptorial bird, and to me, that only refers to as above. Now, what goes stupid hard about Cuz, besides his reign of 68 years, which is crazy, is the way he was found and what he was found in. So y'all remember me telling you he was found in the Temple of Inscriptions, right? And they dug that out. They found that shit 100 years prior to actually finding him, right? So he was found in a trap door. And within that trap door kind of tomb thing, it took them 4 years to actually find his sarcophagus. Yeah, that's right. I said sarcophagus, right? And it was made out of limestone. And for y'all that don't know, a sarcophagus is basically like a coffin made out of stone. And we know that who else used sarcophagus, right? The Egyptians, right? They got that shit from us, or ancient Egyptians. Just like we taught them the meaning of astronomy and agriculture, right? Just like we taught them the meaning of snakes and what it actually represented for us, how it connected to astronomy, or the scepter, which they use the flail, but the flail represents agriculture, right? And we know that 90% of the foods that's in Africa is indigenous to the Americas, especially corn or maize, which is significant or of importance in their cultures as well. It's on their walls and shit, right? And their hieroglyphs. Or how most of their so-called divine animals are actually indigenous to the Americas. Or how the oldest mummies were found in the Americas. Y'all know the chinchilla mummies that I showed y'all a couple years back with the locks? Yeah, them with the drip on that's made of cotton, and we know cotton is indigenous to the Americas. Chinchilla people actually cultivated cotton thousands and thousands of years ago. Or how the so-called Egyptians are found with the cocoa plant or that yayo in their system, and we know that's indigenous to the Americas. But let me get back to Pakal, y'all. Now, his sarcophagus was 12 by 7, which means he was at least 7 feet tall, some shit around there. Not them same little Eurasians that we see over there usurping the cultures and the peoples today. This jade mask and jewelry is what he was found buried in. So this was on his face. They call this the death mask of Pakal. Now this right here comes from this right here. Now if you look at it, it do kind of look like a spaceship. Turn your head, you feel me? It do look like that. And if you notice on there, Pakal is wearing not only the jade jewelry, y'all can't tell it from there, but he's wearing a beaded net skirt because it connects him with the maize god. And remember me telling y'all that maize, agriculture, fertility is all reference to the woman, because that actual beaded skirt is what the women wore culturally in their culture, right? And that connects them to the earth or agriculture, i.e. maize. So what he did was emulate that so he could be connected to the maize god, right? Because that is what the women wore culturally in their culture, right? So it said that he's either on a corn stalk or a world tree, or the tree of life. So basically the world tree is a big ass tree that supports the heaven, connecting the heavens to the earth, and through its root, the underworld. Some call it, the tree of life. But remember what I said, as above, so below, as within, so without, as the universe, so the soul. And that's what our ancestors practiced. I'm gonna read this last little excerpt, and then we out of here. Pakal's sarcophagus. The large carved stone sarcophagus lid in the Temple of Inscriptions is a unique piece of classic Mayan art. Iconographically, however, it is closely related to the large wall panels of the temples of the cross and the foliated cross centered on world trees, right? Around the edges of the lid is a band of cosmological signs, including those for sun, moon, and star, as well as the heads of 6 named noblemen of varying rank. The central image is that of a cruciform world tree. Beneath Pakal is one of the heads of a celestial 2-headed serpent viewed frontally. Both the king and the serpent head on which he seems to rest are framed by the open jaws of a funerary serpent, a common iconographic device for signaling entrance into or residence in the realms of the dead, or Shababa. The king himself wears the attributes of the Tanshur maize god, in particular a turtle ornament on the breast, and is shown in a peculiar posture that may denote rebirth. Remember, resurrected, right? Linda Shelley saw Pakal falling down the Milky Way in the southern horizon. I hope I connected all the dots for y'all, showed you some shit that you didn't see or you didn't know. And until the next time, please subscribe to my YouTube at Smoking Sessions with Chief Pressure. Peace, love, and power to my people.